We're now going to cross live to the Sea Shepherd Captain Paul Watson, who joins us from the Steve Irwin vessel off the coast of WA via Skype. Captain Watson, thanks for your time. These three men now being held captive by the Japanese support vessel, they did know what they were getting into, didn't they?
Yes, they did, but the Attorney General should have done her homework before she took the word of the Japanese as to where their position was, because the evidence is there in the GPS unit on the Shonan Maru No. 2. The Coast Guard should ask for that. They were exactly 3257 south, 11523 east, which put them 14 miles off of the beach. That meant that they were well within the 25-mile contiguous zone, which is the exclusive authority of Australia Customs and Immigration. That is where they are, and the evidence is certainly there to prove that. It's on our GPS unit, it's on their GPS unit. The Coast Guard should demand access to that GPS unit to get that evidence.
Is that the only reason that these three men acted, because you believe that that the vessel was within Australian territorial waters?
They knew it was in Australia territorial waters. That's why they told them to leave Australia territorial waters. We had them on their radar. We saw them in Australia territorial waters at that position. The Shonan Maru 2 also turned off its AIS identification system, which by law they should have had on. We have to have ours on, and yet they turned that off. So that also is a violation. This is also a vessel that cut the Adi Gill in half and refused to cooperate with the Australian Maritime Authority Safety's investigation. Therefore, they should at least have been questioned by the Coast Guard when they came into the economic zone even as to their role in that. This is a vessel that in 2008, as part of the whaling fleet, is prohibited from entering the economic zone by an Australian federal court ruling. The Attorney General is well aware of that. I think that this is more about appeasing Japan than it is about representing the interests of three Australian citizens who are now being taken outside of the economic zone. The Shonan Maru is now 180 miles south of the southwest corner of Australia.
One international law expert today said it doesn't matter how close the Japanese vessel was to the Australian shore, that on board that vessel, Japanese jurisdiction applies.
Well, why don't we just call Western Australia a province of Japan, if that's the kind of attitude people are taking? I'm glad that my country wouldn't represent me in this way. In fact, when three Americans went into Iraq and were in Iran and were in Iranian territory, they were there by mistake. They were arrested, but they were in the territory. The United States went to the wall to protect them. And so I just see here an abandonment of Australian citizens who are trying to do what the Australian government promised to do but hasn't made good on, and that is to stop the illegal killing of whales in the Australian Antarctic Territory and also the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary.
Can we expect other activists to take similar action over the coming days?
It's possible. There's certainly going to be much more confrontations. You know, in 2007, Peter Garrett made this promise that he was going to take strong action, that the Labour government was going to end whaling in the Southern Ocean. What have we seen out of this? Some lawsuit that isn't going anywhere and will not be resolved until this government's way out of power. And so it's not going to solve anything, because even if the ruling is against Japan, they'll continue to do what they're doing. This is the Australian Antarctic Territory. 100 years ago, Mawson went down there and staked a claim for this territory. What's the point of having this territory if the sovereignty of it is going to be violated by Japan and the government doesn't have the guts to uphold that sovereignty?
Captain Watson, appreciate your time. Thanks.